Okay, so I'm gonna turn off my video because I learned something during one of my sessions, and I think it'll make it so the recording doesn't have it show up on the screen and like block out part of the presentation. So if our other person joins us, great. If not, that's okay. We're gonna record this for everyone who couldn't make it. So I'm glad you're with us tonight and you're joining us. A few housekeeping things. If you're new to Zoom or haven't been to Zoom, if you are on your computer, we will be using the chat box a lot. And if you haven't seen it flashing already, because we've had some conversation in there already this evening, it can be found on the bottom in the middle. It should say chat and have a little like a chat emblem, like message emblem there. Or if your screen went into like full screen mode, since I'm in a share, it might be at the top. There's a control panel that should pop up if you hover your mouse over it, and there will be a little more section, and you can click that, and the first option should be the chat option. And so if you click on the chat option, we basically have in there that Shelby is at a tennis game and it is very, very close. So Jennifer is with us on her phone, I think. If you're on your phone, you have to swipe screens to find the chat. So everyone should be able to see the big green logos and our picture of our kids that went to CIA this year. If you don't see it, please unmute yourself and speak up. Or type in the chat box that you're not seeing it. If not, I will go ahead and get started. So what we're gonna do for the first thing in our chat box, and hopefully everyone's figured it out, is we're going to talk about what comes to mind. So what comes to mind when you see the next following logos? And this is beyond what the logo is. It's what does the logo, how does it make you feel? What does it stand for? Who do they help? Basically, the first thing that comes to mind. So the first logo you should see is Apple. So in the chat, just kind of what comes to mind when you see the Apple logo? What does it stand for? Technology. Jennifer raised her hand. Jennifer, you can unmute if you need to talk too, since I think you're on your phone and you can't chat. Computers, technology. Okay. Does anyone, you can also, if you can't figure out the chat, feel free to unmute and chat with us through the Zoom. Money, yes, it costs. Some of the things are pretty pricey. Industry, Awesome. Okay, so then our next one is Target. How does the Target emblem, how does Target make you feel?
I had to put the balls in one big bucket because I didn't have little ones because they were gone to other things. Yeah. Well, that's for fun.
Christmas shopping.
I didn't fix the pants. I didn't fix the watering. No. I didn't fix it. I had the wagon there to move the corn. So.
Dollar bins, yes. I love a good dollar bin, Lynette. Okay, so then our next logo, friendly. Our next one is Starbucks. So how does Starbucks make us feel? Right now, maybe warm and nice and, a warm cup of coffee. A lot of money for coffee that I don't drink. Expensive, yes. Calories, oh yes, if you get a fancy cup of coffee. Okay, and our last logo is our clover. Kids learning, experiences. Okay. So basically what it comes down to is these logos all have a mission, and they have a way they make you feel or get you to buy the expensive products. And it all comes back to the why they do what they do. So for us as volunteers in our 4-H youth system, if we know our why, then we can help to make that mission happen. So as a volunteer, and you're working with the largest youth organization, what made you join and become a volunteer? So we're going to do a rapid fire chat thing. So what you're going to do is I'm going to ask a few questions. You're going to type your answers in the chat, and then I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and you'll hit enter all at the same time. So it should just be coming in all at once. So just get ready. So I have 3 questions. The first question is, why are you a volunteer? So type in the chat, why are you a volunteer? And then get ready to hit enter. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. My kids are involved, loving to help, sharing skills, promoting their passions, helping out to fill a need, all sorts of great answers. So then what do you want 4-H youth to gain by being in 4-H? So by being in your volunteer role, whether you're a club leader or a project leader, what are you wanting these kids, these youth to gain? All right, 3, 2, 1. Experience, learning new skills, knowledge and insight, the life skills, the fellowship of meeting others. Awesome. Okay, so my last question. What would you need to achieve that? To help youth reach the knowledge, the insight, the new skills, the experiences, the leadership opportunities that we all put into the chat, what do you need as a volunteer to achieve that? All right, 3, 2, 1. So we need more leaders. We need time. Time's a big one. We need kids. Face-to-face is true, Linda. That is a big one on getting a good quality spark going. Experience and knowledge. Awesome. So we're going to kind of fall back on a lot of these questions throughout the next slides. So most of you know this, but we are going to do a quick refresher. So what is 4-H? 4-H is a volunteer-led, extension-supported, informal educational program that supplements the teaching of home and school. So basically, it is a program that is led by people like you, our volunteers, where you're supported from the office, like myself. We are for youth 5 to 18 years of age, regardless where they live. So we're not just the country kids, we're the city kids and everything in between. We're about fun and learning with family and friends. And we're also set up to do the scaffolding system where we have older members share experience and teach younger members what they've learned. So knowing so far about your experiences, you answering these questions to help me understand a little bit more, we're going to do a impressions. So based on these next photos, what comes to mind? So as a 4-H'er yourself, some of you I know are 4-H alumni, some of you are just, you've gotten into the world as a 4-H parent, you're a volunteer now, you're still a parent in the 4-H world. What comes to mind when you see these photos? You can type it in the chat. friends, recreation, sharing skills, life experiences, fun childhood memories. Yeah, so I would agree. I definitely see the leadership, especially on our left photo. That's actually not a 4-H sanctioned event. That's just being a page at the Capitol. But that's a leadership role for 2 of our 4-Hers. I see the fellowship, especially in the middle. And I see the adult youth partner relationship on the right. There's an adult back there helping another kid do what looks like a community service project. So then how about these photos? Project meeting, learning skills, volunteering, community service, sharing. Yeah, so especially in these photos, I see leadership again. I see the fellowship again through the community service. I see mastery skills in the far right. So in the far right, it looks like the kid is giving a demonstration or a show and share. So it's a mastery skill to talk about their project learning. And then the partnerships on the far left with the partnership with MKC. So again, these are all things that we've all have the same thoughts when we see these photos that come to mind. These are super important as our 4-H program locally and nationally, and it's the purpose behind our program. So we can achieve that through you, our volunteers. So how do we provide this positive youth experience? Well, we do that through a little bit of positive youth development and some research. So part of your attachments were some of this that we're going to talk about. If you printed them or have them with you, you can follow along. If not, I'm going to summarize, and I suggest you go back and read through it yourself. But we're going to talk about it a little bit. So recently in the positive youth development world, there's been some new research, and as I go over it, I want you to make connections on how you're applying this in your programming. So first is the 3 bullet points at the top, the positive youth development, and the first one is that's following quality principles. And those principles we're going to outline throughout all of this, but they're physical and physiological safety, appropriate structure, supportive relationships, opportunities to belong, positive social norms, support for efficiency and maturing, opportunities for skill building, and integrate the family, school, and community. And those quality principles go into all of our programming. The next one is that facilitating new sparks. That's finding their passion and then motivating them to gain in their passion and their sparks. So keeping in mind those 8 principles we recently talked about. So you having a passion in your project learning is even greater because you have the passion to help those youth grow in that same passion. And the last one, which we do so very well, is the developmental relationships. That's the adult youth relationship through project learning, and that's having, caring for each other, the challenging the youth to grow, the providing the support, the sharing of the power of learning, and the expanding the possibilities. And we do this really well through you guys and 4-H. And the last piece is the Thrive research. And the Thrive research is done by Oregon State University, but it's around the 4-H model. And it's through these 6 bullet points. So our first one, basically, it's saying that thriving youth are aware of a reality bigger than themselves. And then from that, they find a meaning and a purpose in that bigger world. Then having a hopeful purpose is thriving youth have a sense of hope and purpose, and they find themselves more successful, more happy, more often in the future. Thriving 4-Hers, they have the desire to be open and try challenging and new things. They're more willing to go out and try a new thing and meet the challenge. The pro-social orientation is talking about how thriving youth tend to see helping others as a personal responsibility. So this falls back on our community service projects. They see it as, oh, they care and they give back and they want to help. The positive emotionality is thriving youth are typically more positive and optimistic. And when they're not, they're hitting a low and not so optimistic right now in life, they can manage their emotions better. And the last one, that self-regulation and goals. Thriving youth tend to set goals. They can self-regulate themselves and have the short and long-term successes, which these are all things that we do in our 4-H program system, locally, state, and nationally. The big thing to keep in mind, because this feels like a lot to bite off right now, is this research and these principles are across the year of programming. So you might have some great community service areas happening this time of year, and then the beginning of the year you might challenge them a little more and teach them to set goals and self-regulate and do all the parts of the Thrive research, but it doesn't have to be every single meeting. It can be spread out through time. And so we do really well in this. I just wanted to bring to light a lot of this new research, and that we're doing this, we're doing great, and we're doing awesome. So then the next piece that was attached, and the graphic is not great on this presentation, and I apologize, but is what our state came up with. Our state office put together this great graphic, and it's called our learning pathway. And basically you should have it attached in your email, but ultimately it is great visual for our project leaders and then also our club leaders. But as 4-Hers get older and they are in the project longer, they should be on the far right side. They should be practicing more, showing more experience. They should be over there. So I'm going to pick on, well, 2 volunteers. One didn't make it, and I knew she might not make it, but I'm still going to pick on her. But the first one I'm going to pick on is Lynette. So she leads our Clover Bud and Exploring 4-H projects learning. So she's on the left side. She's helping youth, typically 8 years and younger, typically our Clover Buds. Basically, it's kids that are new to 4-H and wanting to learn. She helps them in exploring areas like doing the field trips to the dog show or to club days. She has activities to teach them about 4-H, which leads them right into the learning area. So she sets them up on the path to move on to practice and experience. Then our other leader that couldn't make it this evening was Regina, and she's a club leader. And so she helps youth in learning in the learn and practice area a lot. And that's through her club meetings, how they're ran, how the PAR law works. She has youth practice, running meetings in a formal setting. She has them practice projects with demonstrations, with project talks during meetings. And so she has them kind of in the learn and then practicing area. So basically in my office, in our 4-H office, my goal is to provide some of all of these areas to everyone at some point of time. So we aim to offer these opportunities to explore, for youth to learn, for them to practice, and then to become experienced in these areas. We do it through our volunteers like you. We also do it through our countywide groups like our junior leaders, our ambassadors, and any countywide learning events that we put on. So this image is something that I have taped up in my office, and I fall back on it a lot on how does something that we're doing fit into this pathway and our interactions. So this is an activity, but it's on your own. So if you have a piece of paper or in your head, we're going to think about the programming that you do on a regular basis. So we're going to talk about sparks, and sparks are the passion, what the 4-Hers passion is, what gets them out of bed, when they get excited about something, how they go about doing it. So on a piece of paper or in your mind, you're going to have 3 columns. And on the far right, this one's going to be called your sparks. And so thinking about your program, what are the sparks you'd like to see? So for example, I'm going to pick out the rocketry program because our rocketry leader isn't with us tonight, and I'm going to pick on him. So maybe the spark is the kid in rocketry seeing that rocket launch and learning about trajectory and how it's going to launch and how to make it the rocket more aerodynamic so the launch can be higher and all of that. That's the spark. That's what the child lives for. So take a minute, think about what the sparks are for your programming. Okay, so hopefully you have your sparks or you have it started. On your far left, what are your barriers? What is stopping that spark from happening? This could be physical items like finances, time commitment. It could be mental blockers. So going back to our rocketry, it could be, this youth is also involved in basketball and track, and they have a beef project and a goat project and foods and nutrition. So they're involved in a lot. It could be a financial, they can't afford to purchase the rocket kit and everything that goes with it, or the big rocket kit that they want for this year. It could be anything. So what are the barriers? What's blocking the spark from happening? So we'll take a minute. Okay, so your middle column is how would you make goals, set a game plan to break down these barriers to accomplish the spark. So again, back on my rocketry example, the youth is involved in everything. So time is our big commitment. So maybe to break that, our goals is going to be, we set 1 day a month aside to work on our rocket. Well, good thing that there's typically project meetings, so that's easy to set aside. Or maybe we're going to start working on it now. I mean, we're well away from the next coming fair, but let's start working on it now so we don't have to wait until halfway through June and the rocket launch is coming up and we're scrambling to get this done. Maybe on financial, maybe we start saving for it now. And that way we can purchase it in March so we can get going. So it's what steps you can take to accomplish, to break down that barrier, to reach that youth spark. If anybody did participate and would like to share, you can unmute yourself and kind of just explain what you were thinking. We'll give it a little bit of time to see if anyone is willing to share. If not, that's okay. You can continue to work on this in your own time. Okay. So, code of conduct. Last year, around the beginning of the year, probably about this time, you should have received an email notifying that the code of conduct was updated. If you didn't, surprise, it was updated and implemented this year, and it was updated. Every youth and adult volunteer signs a code of conduct, and they're different for the youth or the volunteer. But basically, it's something that you sign when you enroll on 4-H Online. So this was also part of your attachments, just to put it in front of you again, because it's been updated. So just to kind of summarize some of the things, as a volunteer, you are agreeing that you have a choice to be a volunteer in this program, that it's a non-formal experimental educational program, that you strive to be a positive role model, that you will participate in volunteer screenings, you will conduct yourself professionally, you will partner with KSRE professionals and other Kansas 4-H volunteers. You recognize that the organization, so Kansas 4-H, has a responsibility and authority to remove individuals who are serving as volunteers who are disruptive to the 4-H youth development program, violating the conduct or the standards of the 4-H pledge and motto, or federal, state, or local laws, for any of those reasons that fall under the 4-H youth development program. That you will not use alcohol or illegal substances or be under the influence while working with youth or attending a 4-H event. That you'll demonstrate good sportsmanship and courageous behavior in program participants and other volunteers. That you will accept personal responsibility to be informed and follow policy, rules, and deadlines established by Kansas 4-H. You'll be responsible and ethical stewardships of livestock and or companion animals. You will promote a safe environment, and that all encompasses physical, sexual, verbal, or mental abuse or neglect. You'll promote, a spirit of inclusion and belonging and welcoming, engaging participants and individuals from all backgrounds. You will follow these requirements for financial records. So, for example, clubs have to follow requirements for financial records. And you will keep reliable, accurate records, distribute materials, provide support to the 4-H system that fall under your volunteer responsibilities. So basically, that's a summary of what you sign. Along with that, there's a publicity release, basically allowing us to use your picture and things like this, our presentations on our Facebook page, in the paper, if they ask for any pictures, that sort of thing. And then there's an evaluation release to that. We have never done a formal evaluation. Kansas 4-H doesn't really have a formal evaluation for volunteers. Doesn't mean there might not be something informal or self-eval in the future. The next little nitty-gritty thing that we need to discuss tonight is our civil rights. So the university is really, since the beginning of this year in January, our whole office went to a training that we were required to by the university. But they're really wanting us to make sure we share this with every group that's associated with us. So 4-H is under K-State Research and Extension's umbrella, meaning that we are equal opportunity providers. So this statement has to be on everything that we put out. I also have a shorter version, like a 2-sentence version, that's great for flyers or promotional things, but anything that we make that's promoting or supporting or reminding or a sign-up, registration, any of that has to have the civil rights statement on it, along with just the civil rights statement having to be on all of this. Anything that our office makes and our volunteers make have to have our logo. So you should see the K-State Research and Extension and the Clover logo. We have one that has Harvey County added to it also, but it has to be on there. So if there's any t-shirts made in clubs or projects, the logo has to be on it. If there's any flyers, graphic, anything, the logo just has to be on there. If you need access to any of those things, let me know and I can get that to you. The logos and some other 4-H logos and stuff is on our website for you to download. But if you can't find it, just shoot me an email and I will get it to you. So some fun things that are coming that is new is these new resources. So we have 2 new resources. One is called Club Corner, and it kind of came from the whole stay-at-home orders and where clubs couldn't meet face-to-face to have their monthly meetings. And the other one is Clover Classroom. So to go back to Club Corner, they took all of the club leader resources. It was a statewide team that I was actually on, and we updated everything. A lot of the resources were from the early 90s, so they were still good materials, but they just kind of looked kind of bland. So we updated them, made sure the materials was good. We made them look super duper inviting and graphically appealing. And then we've added a virtual component to it. So ever in case we're in this situation again, hopefully knock on wood, we're not, we added a component to help club leaders know, if you're having a meeting virtually, here's some ideas to help it be more creative or enhance it, or here's some things to follow and try in your club meetings. It's also some great resources for project leaders, just to follow along and figure out how to greet new members. So if you have a new member to your project learning, here's how you can greet a new member. Here's how you can make your project meetings more fun by having some icebreaker team building activities. The last one is the Clover Classroom. It's project learning challenges, and I'm super excited for this one, and it's still in the making. There's 2 of them on the website, and I know there's more coming, but these are like a self-paced challenge that 4-Hers and the families can participate in, or project leaders can take it and they can implement it in their project learning. There's 2 up right now. There's one on photography, and it's basic skills, so anyone new to photography. And the other one is a horticulture one on pollinators. So Scott told me it would be great for about March time to get youth planting flowers and really watching butterflies and other pollinators and taking notes and following along with the activity. So I'm super excited for these 2 new things. These are on the state website. I think we have links to them from our website, but if you can't find them, again, let me know and we will get them to you. So 4-H Council, I feel like we're going to throw this in here for tonight. It's something I feel like that's forgotten about, and it's not utilized to its full potential. So basically, to let everyone know, so you can go back and tell all of your 4-H members who come to your meetings and such that they need to be active in 4-H Council, but it is a democratic process. So for 4-H Council to provide countywide events, programming, promoting our 4-H in our county, it's a democratic process. So we really need the voting delegates to be at the meeting to discuss things. And that consists of 4 from each club. That's 2 adults and 2 youth. So for example, we met last month and we are actively planning for achievement night and for a fall family fun event through some committees. And then we meet again next month in October to finalize some things and have these things happen. So really, it's because of them that we have these countywide events and these countywide programmings that happen. So make sure that you tell 4-Hers to join and club leaders to get your 4 voting members at the meetings. We're currently meeting via Zoom for the rest of this year, so October and December meeting, and we will look at if we have a spot to meet the coming year. Right now, we are meeting via Zoom because we just don't have a location to meet. All right, the fun stuff, policies and procedures. So it is projected that October 1, we are supposed to get a new set of policies and updated policies from the state. That's what I've been told. I don't know for sure if that's been an official date. So hopefully around the beginning of October, we will get the new the new version of policies, the statewide policies. But the last 3 bullet points I really want to go over again. So the 2D leadership, I really want to see this happening. I'm sure it is. We need to go over it again, but ideally there needs to be 2 registered volunteers anytime we're working with youth. Realistically, we need 1 registered volunteer and 1 other parent, 1 other adult. An 18-year-old youth who is enrolled in 4-H does not count. It has to be somebody who is considered a 4-H alumni and at least 1 registered, ideally 1 registered volunteer. I would really like 2, but I know that's hard. If you find yourself in a Zoom setting with youth, if you ever use the breakout room session, this is where it's going to get tricky, making sure you have enough adults. but we would like 2 adults in the breakout rooms. It's just that 2 deep leadership mentality. It helps for you, it helps youth. It's just a good practice to have in effect. The other thing is our county policies, which we have one. It's our sign-up deadlines. So January 1 for returning members, May 10th for the project selection, or for new members to be able to compete at fair. This current programming year, we dissolved that policy just due to the craziness of the unknown. And so it was dissolved for this year, but it's back into effect now. So January 1 for returning members to be able to compete at county fair, May 10th for project selection, and new members to be able to compete. And then last, social media. We have several clubs that have social media accounts. We have, I think, 1, possibly 2 project groups that have social media accounts. The extension office has to be connected in some way. So really, if you are a page, I will definitely follow you. If you're a group, make sure we're in it. We're just here to help monitor things and make sure things are following code of conduct and these policies and procedures we have in place. We're just there to sit. Every once in a blue moon, we might post a post or comment on a post, but we are just there to be there. We will not ever, well, we don't even want any admin roles. We're just there to be a group participating. If we ever do have any reason to have any problems, we will get with you about that problem and we'll get it resolved with you one-on-one. But really, it has to be tied back to KSRE in some way. And the best way to do that is putting the mission statement in the about and having myself and Ashley in that group or on that page. And one of my last things is hold on. No, the remind group text messages, no, I don't need to be a part of that because that's how you would contact your families, whether you would do it through 4-H Online. So like club leaders can have access a specific account to 4-H Online to see their membership and be able to email their club members. So that's very similar to that. It's the social media piece where you are putting your club or project learning out there in a more public way, and we just need to be there as a good checks and balance type system. So that's a good question. All right, last piece I want to discuss, action plans. So as an agent, some of you might know this, some of you might not, I am required to submit my goals and plans for the coming year. So one of the ones I selected for this year was this communication project plan. And basically we are asking club leaders or another adult from the club to join in a statewide effort to enhance their club meetings. We're going to use this statewide or this national communication curriculum. It's helping kids figure out how to get started in communicating, how they can write better, how they can compose things, do illustrated talks, the elevator speeches. It's a good, well-rounded curriculum. However, I would like to extend this to our project leaders. If you are interested, we can do something at the county level. You just need to reach out and I can get you this curriculum information and we can get you, they're just little lessons. They don't take long to implement. So you could easily implement them in your project learning. Just something to add on to what you're already doing in your project learning and your county level project stuff. All right, so that is all I have. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? You can unmute, you can type in the chat.
Annie, I have a question.
Okay.
So the civil rights, can you just go over that? Do we have to have that statement on things, or is it just the K-State and 4-H logo? What do we need to have that statement on stuff as if we give a handout or something?
Good question. Yes. If you give a handout, a flyer, a promotional type thing, it's a 2-sentence statement. I can email it to you. It needs to be on all of that.
Okay.
So
That's
like,
not it.
sorry, go ahead.
It's not in the goodies that you gave us already in the email.
No, I have, it gets updated randomly. And so I always have to go to the official website to make sure I have the most updated version.
Okay.
So for example, if I put a reminder that KAPs are due October 7th, I wouldn't need to have that civil rights statement on there. But for the volunteer training flyer, I had to put the civil rights statement on there. It's kind of confusing. They tried to make it not confusing, but if it's just like a picture that goes out, so if you're in your club group and you're just posting a picture of tonight's community service project, you do not need it. But if you're making a spring beef show flyer, it has to be on there. Or if you're making a flyer for sewing camp, it has to be on there. I'm trying to think of some other activities this group of volunteers does. Any promotional things in the schools, it has to be on there. Any other questions? If not, I will stay on if anyone has questions that they want to talk about, but I will stop recording.